I love Half-Life. Unlike this piece of shit. This game sucks so bad. Half-Life's pretty good though. Oh wait, no, the answer and you know what? I don't feel like talking today. I'm just gonna listen. I'm almost done with this book.
The Stand. Brody wanted to use catapult to smack any more ships leaving parking orbit.
I want to use a catapult.
Judge knew nothing about ballistics, simply understood that his drill men were in exposed positions. I didn't argue, as most remaining loads were already in slow orbits and rest would be soon, and didn't think we would have old catapult much longer. Cheney thought it would be smart to repeat that grid while placing one load exactly on main building of North American Directorate. I know Americans. I was one before they shipped me. They're sorry as hell they ever turned things over to FN. Knock off those bureaucrats, and they'll come over to our side. Wolfgang Korsakov, to Stu's disgust, thought that their
By the way, this is so basted with red sauce pills. They already fired several rocks continuously and simultaneous continuous deep strikes with rocks from the moon. I guess that's where Brianna Wu got her idea. Wrong way. There you go. But she got her idea from this wonderful book.
Speculations might do better if all stock exchanges were closed till it was over. Finn wanted to go for broke. Warn them to get those ships out of our sky, then hit them for real if they didn't.
For real?
Cheney is wrong about Americans. I know them too. NA is toughest part of FN. They're the ones to lick. They're already calling us murderers, so now we've got to hit them hard. Hit American cities, and we can call off the rest.
Really stands for.
I slid out, talked with Mike, made notes. Went back in. They were still arguing.
Mike?
Prof looked up as I sat down. Field Marshal, you have not expressed your opinion. I said, Prof, can't we lay off that Field Marshal nonsense?
Oh no, don't
Children are
put
in
me on the
bed,
bike.
can
Just
afford to
punch
be
me
honest.
for no reason.
As you wish.
Great controls. I'm pushing the buttons, they don't do
Been
it.
waiting to see if any agreement would be reached. There was none. Don't see why I should have opinion, I went on. I'm just errand boy here because I know how to program ballistic computer. Said this looking straight at Wolfgang, a #1 comrade, but a dirty word intellectual. I'm just a mechanic whose grammar is much, while Wolf graduated from a fancy school, Oxford, before they convicted him. He deferred to Prof, but rarely to anybody else. Stu, but Stu had fancy credentials too.
Stu did.
Wolf stirred uneasily and said, Oh, come, Ernie, of course we want your opinions. Don't have any. Bombing plan was worked out carefully. Everybody had a chance to criticize. Haven't seen anything to justify changing it.
The Earth, or the Terrans, are so stupid, such NPCs, if you will, that they thought the moon rocks were nuclear bombs. While not being able to square the circle, they're just like people who hate us, where they're like, oh, you're launching nukes at us, and it's like, there's no radiation, there's no nuclear weapons, they're just moon rocks. They can't admit the truth. They're afraid of the truth. What was it called? Electrophobia or some shit? Fear of the truth.
Prof said, Manuel, will you review the second bombardment of North America for the benefit?
We are the living embodiment of the truth. That's how we got Trump elected. Through sort of like my brother was just saying, the orcs in Warhammer 40,000, where their vehicles just work because they think it hard enough. That's how we got Trump elected tonight. So when you see the title, it's not a joke. There is no punchline. It's not a joke. We're serious. It was through the psychic zeitgeist, or what was it called? Not the psychic zeitgeist. The psychic gestalt. We made it happen through our minds. So again, you're welcome, world. Except for the people who I'm afraid will not be joining us for the rest of their lives. You will see a lot of other people on the internet, a lot of the other YouTubers trying to take credit for what we did. Even noticed Nick Fuentes, who's been spending the past several months saying don't vote for Trump, trying to act like he's better than Trump, though. That was the real cause of that. And now he's like, we won because Trump got elected. And, you know, it's sad that some people still fall for it and think, you know, that they just go along with it. They're like, yeah, Nick Fuentes, he's probably part of the reason. No. Nobody else was. We made it happen with our minds. It's sort of like as the wonderful classic Charlie Sheen said, you know, you got a disease, bullshit. I cured it with my mind. That's what we did. The disease, of course, was the presidency. But I mean, at the same time, Israel was never going to let Kamala be president. That's not going to happen. Just not going to happen. It won't happen. In fact, it seems a little almost staged, you could say. They set her up as the obvious non-choice, the one option that only the, as they call themselves, the yellow dog Democrats would possibly vote for. Because I remember one guy telling me, he said, I'm a yellow dog Democrat. You know, we call ourselves that, or I call myself that because I would vote for a yellow dog before I vote for a Republican. And I remember, this was like 20 years ago, and I remember thinking, you know, how is that on you to even decide? How many will this cost? No, that's not even that much. That's okay. Even though this game is gay, so I want to talk. Oh, yeah, no, why would I want to go on the motorcycle that I'm in front of pushing the get on motorcycle button? No, why would that happen? No, but I remember thinking is like, you know, how do you really make that decision in finality like that? It's like saying, you know, who cares about the metaphors? It's like saying you would make a choice no matter what, even if it was wrong, even if the choice didn't matter. It's just so ridiculous.
Of all of us? Okay. Purpose of second smearing is to force them to use up interceptor rockets. Every shot is aimed at big cities. At null targets, I mean, close to big cities.
Ooh.
Which we tell them shortly before we hit them.
Just
How soon, Cheney?
California off the map already.
We were telling them now, but we can change it. And should. As may be.
This guy's voice
Propaganda
rules.
isn't my pigeon. In most cases, to aim close enough to force them to intercept, we have to use water targets. Rough enough. Besides killing fish and anybody who won't stay off water, it causes tremendous local storms and shore damage. Glanced at watch. Saw I would have to stall. Seattle gets one in Puget Sound, right in her lap.
Yes.
San Francisco is going to lose 2 bridges she's fond of.
More than
Los
that,
Angeles gets one between Long Beach and Catalina, and another a few kilometers up coast.
I'm listening to the novelization of Project 2025. I got it from the future. It's you know, it's 10 years old now from the future in which it was written. It's a historical document of what we did under President Trump in the coming next 20 years of Trump's presidency. Term limits are erased. The states have been erased, just like in Albart Mall Cop 2. But, I mean, you know, and plus, yeah, Trump lives to be 150 years old, of course. That goes without saying. But also at the same time, if you have any of you out there who have family members, or I guess theoretically any of the 5 people who listen to the stream, if you listen, if you're upset that Trump won, just remember Trump was impeached. He can't be president. So he's not going to be president. Don't worry about it. He just won't be president. He's a felon. He's going to jail, right? So don't worry about it. Nothing to worry about.
Mexico City is inland, so we put one on Popocatépetl, where they can see it.
Copa.
Salt Lake City gets one on her lake. Denver we ignore. They can see what's happening in Colorado Springs. But we smack Cheyenne Mountain again and keep it up just as soon as we have it in line of sight. St. Louis and Kansas City get shots in their rivers, and so does New Orleans. Probably flood New Orleans.
Yes.
All Great Lakes cities get it. A long list. Shall I read it? Later, perhaps, said Prof. Go ahead. Boston gets one in her harbor. New York gets one in Long Island Sound and another midway between her two biggest bridges. Think it will ruin those bridges, but we promise to miss them and will.
Yeah, they're
Going
trying not
down
to-
their east coast, we give treat.
They're trying not to kill people, which I mean is understandable. 'Cause they even establish earlier, it's like if we actually start killing people, then the Terran government will just wipe us off, wipe the moon off the face of the moon. What am I doing? Oh,
Treatment to two Delaware Bay cities,
Okay.
then two on
Going the right
Chesapeake
way.
Bay,
Crazy.
one being of max historical and
Oh.
sentimental importance. Farther south, we catch three more big cities with sea shots.
streaming while playing games.
Going
is not a
inland, we
good idea
smack
for playing
Cincinnati,
games.
Birmingham, Chattanooga, Oklahoma City, all with river shots or nearby mountains. Oh yes, Dallas. We destroyed Dallas Spaceport and should
Yes,
catch some
Dallas.
ships. We're sixth there last time I checked.
The state's
Won't
so
kill any
bad,
people
even if
unless they
residents
insist
only
on
give it
standing
one
on target.
star.
Dallas is a
Yeah.
perfect place to bomb.
Yeah.
That spaceport is big and flat and empty.
Oh, wait, that's
Yet
in-
maybe
that's
10
in
million
Oklahoma.
people will see us hit it.
Texas is okay, I guess.
If you hit it. Piccini. When, not if.
Oh,
Each shot is backed up by one an hour later. If neither one gets through, we have shots farther back which can be diverted. For example, easy to shift targets among Delaware Bay, Chesapeake Bay group.
okay.
Same for Great Lakes group. But Dallas has its own string
Oh,
of
no, I only
backups
have
and a
15
long one.
minutes left.
We expect it to be heavily defended. Backups run about 6 hours, as long as we can see North America. And last backups can be placed anywhere on continent. Since farther out a load is when we divert it, farther we can shift it. I don't follow that, said Brody. A matter of vectors, Judge. A guidance rocket can give a load so many meters per second of side vector. Longer that vector has to work, farther from original point of aim, load will land. If we signal a guidance rocket 3 hours before
Yes.
impact, we displace impact 3 times as much as if we waited till 1 hour before impact. Not quite that simple, but our computer can figure it, if you give it time enough.
I mean, like,
How long is
Like-
time enough? Asked Wolfgang. I carefully misunderstood. Computer can solve that sort of problem almost instantaneously once you program it. But such decisions are pre-programmed. Something like this. If out of target group A, B, C, and D, you find that you have failed to hit 3 targets on first and second salvos, you reposition all group 1 second backups so that you will be able to choose those 3 targets while distributing other second backups of that group for possible use on group 2, while repositioning third backups of supergroup
Hidden
Alpha
break the whole
such that...
time.
Slow up,
Fuck you,
said
game.
Wolfgang.
Fuck you,
I'm not a
game.
computer. I just want to know how long before we have to make up our minds. Oh,
Oh, I almost wiped
I
out.
studied watched showily.
Good thing I'm wearing
You
that
now
fucking
have
jetpack.
3 minutes 58 seconds in which to abort leading load for Kansas City. Abort program is set up, and I have my best assistant, a fellow named Mike, standing by. Shall I
Mike?
phone him? Sheeny said, For heaven's sake, man, abort! Why, Cal, said Finn. What's the matter, Terrence? No guts? Prof said, Comrades,
Yeah.
please. I said, Look, I take orders from head of state. Prof over there.
Oh, I can hold my breath.
If he wants
longer.
opinions, he'll
I
ask.
need to.
No use yelling at each other.
A worthless feature.
I looked at watch.
Thank you.
Call it 2.5
Piece
minutes.
of shit game.
More margin, of course, for other targets.
I can't talk to these
Kansas
assholes.
City is farthest from deep water.
Oh, whatever.
But some Great Lake cities are already past ocean abort. Lake Superior is best we can do. Salt Lake City, maybe an extra minute. Then they pile up. I waited. Roll call, said Prof. To carry out the program.
Well,
General Nielsen. Da. Corporal Davis. While caught breath. Da. Judge Brody. Yes, of course, necessary. Wolfgang. Yes. Comte Lajoie. Da. Господин Sheehan. You're missing a bet, but I'll go along. Unanimous. One moment, Manuel. It's up to you, Prof. Always has been. Voting is silly. I am aware that
Whoa.
it is up to me, Господин Minister.
blah, blah, blah.
Carry out
Pretty cool.
bombardment to plan. Most targets we managed to hit by second salvo, though all were defended except Mexico City. Seemed likely, 98.3% by Mike's later calculation,
Right.
that interceptors were exploding by radar fusing with set distances that incorrectly estimated vulnerability of solid cylinders of rock.
I'm holding...
Only 3
fucking
rocks
left
were destroyed.
trigger. Fuck you.
Others were pushed off course and thereby did more harm than if not
I
fired
believe
at.
I've played this for 100 hours.
New York
now.
was tough. Dallas turned out to be very tough.
What the fuck?
Perhaps difference lay in local control of interception, for it seemed unlikely that command post in Cheyenne Mountain was still effective. Perhaps we had not cracked their hole in the ground. Don't know how deep down it was, but I'll bet that neither men nor computers were still tracking. Dallas blew up or pushed aside first 5 rocks, so I told Mike to take everything he could from Cheyenne Mountain and award it to Dallas, which he was able to do 2 salvos later. Those 2 targets are less than 1,000 kilometers apart. Dallas's defenses cracked on next salvo. Mike gave their spaceport 3 more, already committed, then shifted back to Cheyenne Mountain. Later ones had never been nudged and were still earmarked Cheyenne Mountain. He was still giving that battered mountain cosmic love pats when America rolled down and under Terra's eastern
Cosmic
edge.
love pats.
I stayed with Mike all during bombardment, knowing it would be our toughest. As he shut down till time to dust Great China, Mike said thoughtfully, "Man, I don't think we had better hit that mountain again." "Why not, Mike?" "It's not there any longer." "You might divert its backups. When do you have to decide?" "I would put them on Albuquerque and Omaha, but had best start now. Tomorrow we'll be busy. Man, my best friend, you should leave. Bored with me, pal? In the next few hours, that first ship may launch missiles. When that happens, I want to shift all ballistic control to Little David's sling. And when I do, you should be at Mare Undalam site." "What's fretting you, Mike?" "That boy is accurate, man, but he's stupid. I want him supervised. Decisions may have to be made in a hurry, and there isn't anyone there who can program him properly. You should be there."
That's right.
"Okay, if you
Retarded
say
son.
so, Mike.
Mike's retarded.
But
son,
if needs a
as he calls
fast program, we'll still have to phone you. Greatest shortcoming of computers isn't computer shortcoming at all, but fact that a human takes a long time, maybe hours, to set up a program that a computer solves in milliseconds. One best quality of Mike was that he could program himself, fast. Just explain problem, let him program. Same wise and equally, he could
Oh,
program
yeah.
Idiot Son enormously faster than human could. But man, I want you there because you may not be able to phone me. The lines may be cut, so I have prepared a group of possible programs for Junior. They may be helpful. Okay, print them out, and let me talk to Prof. Mike got Prof. I made sure he was private, then explained what Mike thought I should do. Thought Prof would object. Was hoping he would insist I stay through coming bombardment, invasion, whatever. Those ships. Instead, he said, "Manuel, it's essential that you go. I've hesitated to tell you. Did you discuss odds with Mike yet?" "I have continued to do so. To put it bluntly, if Luna City is destroyed and I am dead and the rest of the government is dead, even if all Mike's radar eyes here are blinded and he himself is cut off from the new catapult, all of which may happen under severe bombardment, even if all this happens at once, Mike still gives Luna even chances if Little David's sling can operate. And you are there to operate it." I said, "Da, boss. Yassa massa. You and Mike are stinkers and want to hog fun. Will do." "Very good, Manuel." Stayed with Mike another hour while he printed out meter after meter of programs tailored to other computer.
Isn't it really
Work
supposed
that
to
would
be
have taken me
Manuel
6
or
months,
Manuel?
even if able to think of all possibilities.
Does it have to go with what
Mike
the,
had it
the guy
indexed
reading
and
the
cross-referenced
book says?
with horribles in it I hardly dare mention. Mean to say, given circumstances and seemed necessary to destroy, say, Paris, is told how, what missiles and what orbits, how to tell Junior to
Paris
find
is
them
burning.
and bring to
Can't
target.
wait to see this
Or
movie.
anything.
Can't wait to see.
Was reading this endless
I bet it's
document,
Italian
not programs,
programs
but
with
descriptions
flames
of purpose of program that headed each,
Bunch of
when
queens.
Weil phoned. "Manny, dear, has Prof told you about going to Mare Undalam?" "Yes, was going to call you." "All right. I'll pack for us and meet you at Station East. When can you be there?" "Pack for us? You're going?" "Didn't Prof say?" "No." Suddenly felt cheerful. "I felt guilty about it, dear. I wanted to go with you, but had no excuse. After all, I'm no use around a computer, and I do have responsibilities here. Or did. But now I've been fired from all my jobs, and so have you." "Huh?" "You are no longer Defense Minister. Finn is. Instead, you are Deputy Prime Minister." "Well." "And Deputy Minister of Defense, too. I'm already Deputy Speaker, and Stu has been appointed Deputy Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, so he goes with us too. I'm confused. It's not as sudden as it sounds. Prof and Mike worked it out months ago. Decentralization, dear. The same thing that McIntyre has been working on for the Warrens. If there is a disaster at El City, Luna Free State still has a government. As Prof put it to me, why, oh, dear lady, as long as you three and a few congressmen are left alive, all is not lost. You can still negotiate on equal terms and never admit your wounds. So I wound up as a computer mechanic. Stu and Wyo met me with luggage, including rest of my arms, and we threaded through endless unpressured tunnels and pea suits on a small flatbed rollagon used to haul steel to site. Greg had Big Rollagon meet us for surface dredge, then met us himself when we went underground again. So I missed the attack on ballistic radars Saturday night.
Cyberpunk 2077 in this game.
28. Captain of first ship, FNS Esperance, had guts. Late Saturday, he changed course, headed straight in. Apparently figured we might attempt jingle-jangle with radars, for he seems to have decided to come in close enough to see our radar installations by ship's radar, rather than rely on letting his missiles home in on our beams. Seems to have considered himself, ship and crew, expendable, for he was down to 1,000 kilometers before he launched, a spread that went straight for 5 out of 6 of Mike's radars, ignoring random jingle-jangle. Mike, expecting self soon to be blinded, turned Brody's boys loose to burn ship size, held them on it for 3 seconds before he shifted them to missiles. Result? 1 crashed cruiser, 2 ballistic radars knocked out by H missiles, 3 missiles killed, and 2 gun crews killed, 1 by H explosion, other by dead missile that landed square on them, plus 13 gunners with radiation burns above 800 Röntgen death level, partly from flash, partly from being on surface too long. And must add, 4 members of Lysistrata Corps died with those crews. They elected to pea suit and go up with their men. Other girls had serious radiation exposure, but not up to 800 R level.
What's going on here?
Second cruiser continued an elliptical orbit.
The bad guys are back. Oh no, are these the bad guys? What's going on? What are these guys? What are they doing? I don't know. Being grabbed by scary car monsters? I don't care. I'm not gonna do anything. I don't give a shit. Lose stressful. Lose stressful. I don't care. Nope. It never happened. Oh look. Oh, they stopped just in time for me to just start shooting. Gay baby. Hold on a second. You know what? Super. Fuck. Suck. I was trying to reload. I didn't need to. Didn't need to. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Seems smaller than you thought. You need to get it. Shut up. Wasted space on that, actually. Get back to the book.
Around and behind Luna.
I don't care.
Got most of this from Mike after we arrived Little David Sling early Sunday. He was feeling groused over loss of 2 of his eyes and still more groused over gun crews. I think Mike was developing something like human conscience. He seemed to feel it was his fault that he had not been able to outfight 6 targets at once. I pointed out that what he had to fight with was improvised, limited range, not real weapons.
Not even a real weapon.
How about self, Mike? Are you right? In all essentials, I have outlying discontinuities. One live missile chopped my circuits to Novi Leningrad, but reports routed through Luna City inform me that local controls tripped in satisfactorily with no loss in city services.
Special chemicals.
I feel frustrated by these discontinuities, but they can be dealt with later. Mike, you sound tired. Me? Tired? Ridiculous. Man, you forget what I am. I'm annoyed, that's all.
Robo.
When will that second ship be back in sight? In about 3 hours, if he were to hold earlier orbit. But he will not. Probability in excess of 90%. I expect him in about an hour. A garrison orbit, huh? Oh. He left my sight at azimuth and course east 32 north. Does that suggest anything, man?
Nope.
Trying to visualize. Suggest they are going to land and try to capture you, Mike. Have you told Finn? Have you told Prof to warn Finn? Professor knows, but that is not the way I analyze it. So? Well, suggests I had better shut up and let you work. Did so. Lenora fetched me breakfast while I inspected Junior, and am ashamed to say could not manage to grieve over losses with both Wyo and Lenora present.
Gonna have to wipe out his
Mom had sent Lenora out to cook for Greg after Miller's death.
Tragic.
Just an excuse.
Mike?
Were enough wives at sight to provide home cooking for everybody. Was for Greg's morale and Lenora's, too.
That's right, I was gonna take
Lenora and Miller had been close. Junior seemed to be right. He was working on South America, one load at a time.
low.
I stayed in radar room and watched, at extreme magnification, while he placed one in estuary between Montevideo and Buenos Aires. Mike could not have been more accurate. I then checked his program for North America, found naught to criticize, locked it in, and took key. Junior was on his own, unless Mike got clear of other troubles and decided to take back control. Then sat and tried to listen to news both from Earthside and El City. Coax cable from El City carried phones, Mike's hookup to his idiot child, radio, and video.
Coax cable still exists.
Sight was no longer isolated. But besides cable from El City, Sight had antennas pointed at Terra. Any Earthside news Complex could pick up, we could listen to directly. Nor was this silly extra. Radio and video from Terra had been only recreation during construction, and this was now a standby in case that one cable was broken. FN official satellite relay was claiming that Luna's ballistic radars had been destroyed, and that we were now helpless. Wondered what people of Buenos Aires and Montevideo thought about that. Probably too busy to listen. In some ways, water shots were worse than those where we could find open land. Luna City Lunatics video channel was carrying Sheeny telling loonies outcome of attack by Esperance. Repeating news while warning everybody that battle was not over. A warship would be back in our sky any moment. Be ready for anything. Everybody stay in pea suits. Sheeny was wearing his with helmet open. Take maximum pressure precautions. All units stay on red alert. All citizens not otherwise called by duty strongly urged to seek lowest level and stay there till all clear, and so forth. He went through this several times, then suddenly broke it. Flash. Enemy cruiser radar sighted. Low and fast. It made Dido for Luna City. Flash. Missiles launched. Headed for ejection into... Picture and sound chopped off. Might as well tell now what we at Little David Sling learned later. Second cruiser, by coming in low and fast, tightest orbit Luna's field permits, was able to start its bombing at ejection end of Old Catapult, 100 kilometers from Catapult Head and Brody's gunners, and knock many rings out a minute it took him to come into sight and range of drill guns, all clustered around radars at Catapult Head. Guess he felt safe. Wasn't. Brody's boys burned eyes out and ears off. He made one orbit after that and crashed near Torricelli, apparently in an attempt to land, for his jets fired just before crash. But our next news at New Site was from Earthside. That brassy FN frequency claimed that our catapult had been destroyed. True. And that lunar menace was ended. False. And called on all loonies to take prisoner their false leaders and surrender themselves to mercy of federated nations. Non-existent. Mercy, that is. Listened to it and checked programming again, and went inside dark radar room. If everything went as planned, we were about to lay another egg in Hudson River. then targets in succession for 3 hours across that continent. In succession because Junior could not handle simultaneous hits. Mike had planned accordingly. Hudson River was hit on schedule. Wondered how many New Yorkers were listening to FN newscast while looking at spot that gave it lie. 2 hours later, FN station was saying that lunar rebels had missiles in orbit when Catapult was destroyed, but that after those few had impacted would be no more. When third bombing of North America was complete, I shut down radar. Had not been running steadily. Junior was programmed to sneak looks only as necessary, a few seconds at a time. I then had 9 hours before next bombing of Great China. But not 9 hours for most urgent decision, whether to hit Great China again. Without information, except from Terra's news channels, which might be false. Bloody. Without knowing whether or not Warren's had been bombed, or Prof was dead or alive. Double bloody. Was I now acting Prime Minister?
Fuck you, bloody.
Needed Prof. Head of State wasn't my
you,
glass
bloody.
of chai. Above all, needed Mike to calculate facts, estimate uncertainties, project probabilities of this course or that. My word, didn't even know whether ships were headed toward us, and worse yet, was afraid to look. If turned radar on and used Junior for sky search, any warship he brushed with beams would see him quicker than he saw them. Warships were built to spot radar surveillance,
It's about to wrap up.
so it
What
heard.
the hell's going on?
Hal was
Either
no military man,
the
was
moon's
computer
gonna get
technician
blown up.
who had bumbled into wrong field.
gonna blow up Earth.
Somebody buzzed door.
Or
I got up
either.
and unlocked.
Maybe
Was
either.
Wire with coffee. Didn't say a word, just handed it to me and went away.
Tomboy.
Sipped it. There it is, boy. They're leaving you alone, waiting for you to pull miracles out of pouch.
Wyoming even has a tomboy kind of name. Like Wyoming.
Didn't feel up to it. From somewhere back in my youth, heard Prof say, "Manuel, when faced with a problem you do not understand, do any part of it you do understand, then look at it again." He had been teaching me something he himself did not understand very well, something in maths, but had taught me something far more important, a basic principle. Knew at once what to do first. Went over to Junior and had him print out predicted impacts of all loads in orbit. Easy was a pre-program he could run any time against real-time running.
Yeah, so could I.
While he was doing it, I looked for certain alternate programs in that long roll Mike had prepared. Then set up some of those alternate programs. No trouble, simply had to be careful to read them correctly and punch them in without error. Made Junior print back for check before I gave him signal to execute. When finished, 40 minutes, every load and trajectory intended for an inland target had been retargeted for a seacoast city, with hedge to my bet that execution was delayed for rocks farther back. But unless I canceled, Junior would reposition them as soon as need be. Now, horrible pressure of time was off me. Now could abort any load into ocean right up to last few minutes before impact. Now could think. So did. Then called in my war cabinet. Wyo,
just paying
Stu,
attention
and
to the
Greg,
story.
my commander of armed forces, using
I
Greg's
mean,
office.
what's the point in streaming today?
Lenora was
What's the
allowed
point?
to go in and out,
Anything
fetching
happen?
coffee and
No.
food, or
Nope.
sitting and saying nothing.
Nope.
Lenora is a sensible femme and knows when to keep quiet. Stu started it. Mr. Prime Minister, I do not think that Great China should be hit this time. Never mind fancy titles,
They should.
Stu. Maybe I'm acting, maybe not,
Oh.
but haven't time for formality. Very well. May I explain my proposal? Later. I explained what I had done to give us more time. He nodded and kept quiet. Our tightest squeeze is that we are out of communication, both Luna City and Earthside. Greg, how about that repair crew?
Shit.
Not back yet. If Break is near Luna City, they may be gone a long time. If can repair at all.
Oh, yeah.
So, must assume we'll have to act on our own. Greg, do you have an electronics tech who can jury-rig a radio that will let us talk to Earthside?
Jury-rig?
To their satellites, I mean. That doesn't take much with the right antenna.
There's another way of
I
putting
may be
that.
able to help, and that computer tech I sent you isn't too clumsy either. Quite good, in fact, for ordinary electronics. A poor bloke I had once falsely accused of allowing a fly to get into Mike's guts. I had placed him in this job. Harry Biggs, my
Mike
power
is an
plant
AI
boss, can do
robot
anything of that
machine
sort,
computer, by the way.
Greg said thoughtfully. If he has the gear.
I shouldn't be filling that
Get
in.
him on it. You can
You don't need
vandalize
to know
anything
that.
but radar
I mean, I
and
do.
computer once we get all loads out of Catapult. How many lined up?
Well.
23, and no more steel. So, 23 it is, win or lose. I want them ready for loading. Might lob them off today. They're ready. We can load as fast as the cat can throw them. Good. One more thing. Don't know whether there's an FN cruiser, maybe more than one, in our sky or not. And afraid to look. By radar, I mean. Radar for Skywatch could give away our position. But must have Skywatch. Can you get volunteers for an eyeball Skywatch, and can you spare them?
Nope.
Lenora spoke up.
I volunteer.
The book's
Thanks,
not
honey, you're
covered.
accepted. We'll find them, said Greg. Won't need FEMS. Let her do it, Greg. This is everybody's show. Explained what I wanted. Mare Undaram was now in dark semi-lunar. Sun had set. Invisible boundary between sunlight and Luna's shadow stretched over us, a precise locus. Ships passing through our sky would wink suddenly into view, going west, blink out, going east. Visible part of orbit would stretch from horizon to some point in sky. If Eyeball Team could spot both points, mark one by bearing, other by stars, and approximate time by counting seconds, Junior could start guessing orbit. 2 passes and Junior would know its period and something about shape of orbit. Then I would have some notion of when would be safe to use radar and radio and catapult. Did not want to loose a load with FN ship above horizon. Could be radar looking our way. Perhaps too
Just
cautious,
smile every time he says
but had to
that.
assume that this catapult, this one radar, these 24 missiles, were all that stood between Luna and total defeat. And our bluff hinged on them never knowing what we had or where it was. We had to appear endlessly able to pound Terra with missiles from source they had not suspected and could never find. Then, as now, most loonies knew nothing about astronomy. We're cave dwellers. We go up to surface only when necessary. But we were lucky. Was amateur astronomer in Greg's crew, Carver, who had worked at Richardson. I explained, put him in charge, let him worry about teaching Eyeball crew how to tell stars apart. I got these things started before we went back to Tok Tok. Well, Stu, why shouldn't we hit Great China? I'm still expecting word from Dr. John. I received one message from him, phoned here shortly before we were cut off from cities. My word, why didn't you tell me? I tried to, but you had yourself locked in, and I know better than to bother you when you are busy with ballistics. Here's the translation. Usual Lunaho Company address with a reference which means it's for me and that it has come through my Paris agent. Our Darwin sales representative, that's John, informs us that your shipments of, well, never mind the coding. He means the attack days, while appearing to refer to last June, were improperly packaged, resulting in unacceptable damage. Unless this can be corrected, negotiations for long-term contract will be seriously jeopardized. Stu looked up. All double talk. I take it to mean that Dr. John feels that he has his government ready to talk terms, but that we should let up on bombing Great China, or we may upset his apple cart. Got up and walked around. Asked Wyo's opinion. Nobody knew Wyo's virtues better than I, but she oscillated between fierceness and too human compassion, and I had learned already that a head of state, even an acting one, must have neither. Asked Greg.
There we go.
Greg was a good farmer, a better mechanic, a rousing preacher. I loved him dearly, but did not want his opinion. Stu? I had had his opinion. Or did I? Stu, what's
Good
your
job.
opinion? Not John's opinion, but your own. Stu looked thoughtful. That's difficult, Manny. I am not Chinese. I have not spent much time in Great China and can't claim to be expert in their politics nor their psychology. So I'm forced to depend on his opinion. Damn it, he's not a loony. His purposes are not our purposes. What does he expect to get out of it? I think he is maneuvering for a monopoly over lunar trade. Perhaps bases here too. Possibly an extraterritorial enclave. Not that we would grant that. Might if we were hurting. He didn't say any of this. He doesn't say much, you know. He listens. Too well, I know. Worried at it, more bothered each minute. News from Earthside had been droning in background. I had asked Wyo to monitor while I was busy with Greg. Wyo, hon, anything new from Earthside?
No, the same claims. We've been utterly defeated and our surrender is expected momentarily. Oh, there's a warning that some missiles are still in space, falling out of control, but with it a reassurance that the paths are being analyzed and people will be warned in time to avoid impact areas.
Right.
Anything to suggest that Prof or anybody in Luna City or anywhere in Luna is in touch with Earthside?
Nothing at all.
Damn. Anything from Great China?
Earth's
No.
in damage control.
Comments from almost everywhere else.
Earth is going
Not
full
from Great China.
Kamala. Right.
Stepped to door. Greg! Hey, Copper, see if you can find Greg Davis. I need him. Closed the door. Stu, we're not going to let Great China off. So? Now, would be nice if Great China busted alliance against us. Might save us some damage. But we've got this far only by appearing able to hit them at will and to destroy any ship they send against us. At least I hope that last one was burned, and we've certainly clobbered 8 out of 9. We won't get anywhere by looking weak. Not while FN is claiming that we are not just weak, but finished. Instead, we must hand them surprises, starting with Great China, and if it makes Dr. John unhappy, we'll give him a kerchief to weep into. If we can go on looking strong when FN says we're licked, then eventually some veto power is going to crack. If not Great China, then some other one. Stu bowed without getting up. Very well, sir. Greg came in. You want me, Manny? What makes with Earthside Center? Harry says you have it by tomorrow. A crummy rig, he says, but push Watts through it, and we'll be heard. Power we got. And if he says tomorrow, then he knows what he wants to build, so we'll be today. Say 6 hours. I'll work under him. Why, Ohan, will you get my arms? Want number 6 and number 3. Better bring number 5, too. And you stick with me and change arms for me.
This game
Stu wants you to write some nasty messages. I'll give you a general idea, and you put acid in them. Greg, we are not going to get all those rocks into space at once. Ones we have in space now will impact the next 18, 19 hours. Then, when FN is announcing that all rocks are accounted for and Lunar Menace is over, we crash into their newscast and warn of next bombings. Shortest possible orbits, Greg, 10 hours or less, so check everything on catapult and H-plant and controls. With that extra boost, all has to be dead on. Wyo was back with arms. I told her number 6 and added, Greg, let me talk with Harry. 6 hours later, Cinder was ready to beam toward Terra. Was ugly job, vandalized mainly out of a resonance prospector used in project's early stages, but could ride an audio signal on its radio frequency and was powerful. Stu's nastified versions of my warnings had been taped, and Harry was ready to zip-squeal them. All Terran satellites could accept high speed at 60 to 1 and had no wish to have our Cinder heated more seconds than necessary. Eyeball Watch had confirmed fears. At least 2 ships were in orbit around Luna. So we told Great China that her major coastal cities would each receive a lunar present offset 10 kilometers into ocean. Busan, Qingdao, Taipei, Shanghai, Saigon, Bangkok, Singapore, Jakarta, Darwin, and so forth.
Chicago. What?
Except that old Hong Kong would get one smack on top of FN's Far East offices, so kindly have all human beings move far back. Stu noted that human beings did not mean FN personnel. They were urged to stay at desks.
Every time. He gets me every time.
India was given similar warnings about coastal cities and was told that FN global offices would be spared one more rotation out of respect for cultural monuments in Agra, and to permit human beings to evacuate. I intended to extend this by another rotation as deadline approached, out of respect for Prof. And then another, indefinitely. Damn it, they would build their home offices next door to most over-decorated tomb ever built, but one that Prof treasured.
The Taj Mahal.
Rest of world was told to keep their seats.
The most
Game was going extra
overdecorated
innings.
skin.
But stay away from any FN officers anywhere. We were frothing at mouth, and no FN office was safe. Better yet, get out of any city
do something
containing an
about those
FN headquarters.
FN
But
offices.
FN VIPs and Finks were urged
Yes.
to sit tight. Then spent next 20 hours coaching Junior into sneaking his radar peaks when our sky was clear of ships,
This game's stupid.
or believed to be.
Here.
Napped when I could, and Lenora stayed with me and woke me in time for next coaching.
Oh.
And that ended Mike's rocks, and we all went into alert, while we got first of Junior's rocks flung high and fast. Waited until certain it had gone hot and true, then told Terra where to look for it and where and when to expect it, so that all would know that FN's claims of victory were on a par with their century of lies about Luna,
FNs.
all in Stu's best snotty, supercilious phrases delivered in his cultured accents. First one should have been for Great China, but was one piece of North American directorate we could reach with it, her proudest jewel, Hawaii. Junior placed it in triangle formed by Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. I didn't work out programming. Mike had anticipated it.
Hawaiian China.
Then
Chinese
pronto we
Hawaii.
got off 10 more rocks at short intervals, had to skip one program, a ship in our sky, and told Great China where to look and when to expect them and where. Coastal cities we had neglected the day before. Was down to 12 rocks, but decided it was safer to run out of ammunition than to look as if we were running out. So I awarded 7 to Indian coastal cities, picking new targets, and Stu inquired sweetly if Agra had been evacuated. If not, please tell us at once. But heaved no rock at it. Egypt was told to clear shipping out of Suez Canal. Bluff. Was hoarding last 5 rocks. Then waited. Impact at Lahaina Roads, at the target in Hawaii. Looked good at High Mag. Mike could be proud of Junior. And waited. 37 minutes before first China Coast impact, Great China denounced actions of FN, recognized us, offered to negotiate, and I sprained a finger punching abort buttons. Then was punching buttons with sore finger. India stumbled over feet, following suit. Egypt recognized us. Other nations started scrambling for door. Stu informed Terra that we had suspended, only suspended, not stopped, bombardments. Now get those ships out of our sky at once. Now. And we could talk. If they could not get home without refilling tanks, let them land not less than 50 kilometers from any mapped warren, then wait for their surrender to be accepted. But clear our sky now. This ultimatum we delayed a few minutes to let a ship pass beyond horizon. We weren't taking chances. One missile and Luna would have been helpless. And waited. Cable crew returned. Had gone almost to Luna City, found break. But thousands of tons of loose rock impeded repair. So they had done what they could, gone back to a spot where they could get through to surface, erected a temporary relay in direction they thought Luna City lay, sent up a dozen rockets at 10-minute intervals, and hoped that somebody would see, understand, aim a relay at it. Any communication?
Yep.
No.
This game is
Waited.
so bad. So bad.
Eyeball Squad reported that a ship which had been clock faithful for 19 passes had failed to show. 10 minutes later, they reported that another ship had missed expected appearance. We waited and listened. Great China, speaking on behalf of all veto powers, accepted armistice and stated that our sky was now clear. Lenora burst into tears and kissed everybody she could reach. After we steadied down, a man can't think when women are grabbing him, especially when 5 of them are not his wives. A few minutes later, when we were coherent, I said, "Stu, want you to leave for Luna City at once. Pick your party. No women. You'll have to walk surface last kilometers. Find out what's going on. but first get them to aim a relay at ours and phone me. Very good, sir. We were getting him outfitted for a tough journey. Extra air bottles, emergency shelter, and so forth, when Earthside called me on frequency we were listening to because message was, learned later, on all frequencies up from Earthside. Private message,
Sounds like Earth is
Prof
closing.
to Manny. Identification, birthday Bastille, and Sherlock's sibling. Come home at once. Your carriage waits at your new relay. Private message, Prof to, and went on repeating. Harry! Davos. Message Earthside. Tape and squeal. We still don't want them ranging us. Private message. Manny to Prof. Brass cannon. On my way. Ask them to acknowledge, but use only one squeal. 29. Stu and Greg drove on way back, while Wyo and Lenora and I huddled on open flatbed, strapped to keep from falling off. It was too small. Had time to think. Neither girl had suit radio, and we could talk only by helmet touch. Awkward. Began to see, now that we had won, parts of Prof's plan that had never been clear to me. Inviting attack against Catapult had spared Warrens. Hoped it had. That was plan. But Prof had always been cheerfully indifferent to damage to Catapult. Sure, had a second one, but far away and difficult to reach. Would take years to put a tube system to new Catapult, high mountains or away. Probably cheaper to repair old one, if possible. Either way, no grain shipped to Terra in meantime. And that was just what Prof wanted. Yet never once had he hinted that his plan was based on destroying old Catapult. His long-range plan, not just revolution. He might not admit it now, but Mike would tell me, if put to him flatly, was or was not this one factor in odds. Food riot predictions and all that, Mike?
Oh boy.
He would tell me. That ton-for-ton deal, Prof had expounded it Earthside, had been argument for a Terran Catapult. But privately he had no enthusiasm for it. Once he had told me, in North America, "Yes, Manuel, I feel sure it would work. But if built, it will be temporary. There was a time, 2 centuries ago, when dirty laundry used to be shipped from California to Hawaii, by sailing ship, mind you. And clean laundry returned. Special circumstances. If we
Hey,
ever
just
see
make the
water
ship
and
instead of
manure
the
shipped
laundry.
to Luna and grain
Clean the
shipped back,
laundry on the ship. Use the water.
it will be
Use
just
the
as
water.
temporary. Luna's future lies in her unique position at the top of a gravity well over a rich planet, and in her cheap power and plentiful real estate. If we loonies have sense enough in the centuries ahead to remain a free port and to stay out of entangling alliances, we will become the crossroads for 2 planets, 3 planets, the entire solar system. We won't be farmers
The
forever.
prequel to The Expanse.
They met us at Station East, and hardly gave time to get pea suits off.
There's a lot of things.
Was
in this
returned
that
from
remind me of The
Earthside over
Expanse.
again, screaming mobs and being ridden on shoulders. Even girls, for Slim Lemke said to Lenora,
Yeah.
"May we carry you too?" And Wyo answered, "Sure, why not?" And still Yagi fought for chance to. Most men were pressure-suited, and I was surprised to see how many carried guns, until I saw that they were not our guns. They were captured. But most of all, what blessed relief to see El City unhurt. Could have done without triumphal procession. Was itching to get to phone and find out from Mike what had happened, how much damage, how many killed, what this victory cost. But no chance. We were carried to Old Dome willy-nilly. They shoved us up on a platform with Prof and rest of cabinet and VIPs and such, and our girls slobbered on Prof, and he embraced me Latin style, kiss cheek, and somebody stuck a liberty cap on me.
Dang.
spotted little Hazel in crowd and threw her a kiss. At last, they quieted enough for Prof to speak. "My friends," he said, and waited for silence. "My friends," he repeated softly, "beloved comrades. We meet at last in freedom, and now have with us the heroes who fought the last battle for Luna alone." They cheered us. Again he waited. Could see he was tired. Hands trembled as he steadied self against pulpit. "I want them to speak to you. We want to hear about it, all of us. But first, I have a happy message.
Oh.
Great China has just announced that she is building in the Himalayas an enormous catapult to make shipping to Luna as easy and cheap as it has been to ship from Luna to Terra."
China caved.
He stopped for cheers.
This
Then
is
went
the
on.
best trade deal.
But
in
that
history
lies in the
Tokyo.
future. Today, oh, happy day. At last, the world acknowledges Luna's sovereignty. Free. You have won your freedom. Prof stopped, looked surprised. Not afraid, but puzzled. Swayed slightly. Then
So the moon does win.
he did die.
Win.
30. We got him into a shop behind a platform, but even with help of a dozen doctors was no use. Old heart was gone, strained too many times. They carried him out back way, and I started to follow.
Professor.
Stu touched my arm. "Mr. Prime Minister," I said. "Huh? Oh, for bog's sake!" "Mr. Prime Minister,"
Fog.
he repeated firmly, "you must speak to the crowd.
Or Vog.
Send them home.
No, no.
Then there are things that must be done." He spoke calmly, but tears
I was
poured
affected
down
by
cheeks.
Wasn't it McFlurry's sign?
So I got back on platform and confirmed what they had guessed and told them to go home. And wound up in room L of Raffles, where all had started. The emergency cabinet meeting. But first ducked to phone, lowered hood, punched Mycroft XXX.
Call
Got
Mike?
no number signal.
Mike?
Tried again. Same. Pushed up hood and said to man nearest me, Wolfgang, "Aren't phones working?" "Depends," he said. "That bombing yesterday shook things up. If you want an out-of-town number, better call the phone office." Could see self asking office to get me a no. "What bombing?" "Haven't you heard? It was concentrated on the complex. But Brody's boys got the ship. No real damage. Nothing that can't be fixed." Had to drop it. They were waiting. I didn't know what to do, but Stu and Korsakov did. Sheeny was told to write news releases for Terra and rest of Luna. I found self announcing a lunar of mourning, 24 hours of quiet, no unnecessary business, giving orders for body to lie in state, all words put into mouth. I was numb. Brain would not work. Okay, convene Congress at end of 24 hours. In Novilen, okay. Sheeny had dispatches from Earthside. Wolfgang wrote for me something which said that because of death of our president, answers would be delayed at least 24 hours. At last was able to get away, with Wyo. A Stilyagi guard kept people away from us to easement lock 13. Once home, I ducked into workshop on pretense of needing to change arms. "Mike!" No answer. So tried punching his combo into house phone. No signal. Resolved to go out to complex next day.
Mike's
With
gone.
Prof gone, needed Mike worse than ever. But next day was not able to go. Transcrisium tube was out, that last bombing. You could go around through Torricelli and Novilen and eventually reach Hong Kong. But complex,
Silverhand.
almost next door, could be reached only by Rolagon. Couldn't take time. I was government. Managed to shuck that off 2 days later. By resolution was decided that Speaker, Finn, had succeeded to presidency after Finn and I had decided that Wolfgang was best choice for prime minister. We put it through, and I went back to being congressman, who didn't attend sessions. By then, most phones were working, and Complex could be called. Punched Mycroft XXX. No answer. So went out by Rolligon. Had to go down and walk tube last kilometer, but Complex Under didn't seem hurt. Or did Mike appear to be? But when I spoke to him, he didn't answer. He has never answered. Has been many years now. You can type questions into him in Loglan, and you'll get Loglan answers out. He works just fine as a computer, but won't talk. Or can't. Wyo tried to coax him. Then she stopped. Eventually, I stopped. Don't know how it happened. Many outlying pieces of him got chopped off in last bombing. Was meant, I'm sure, to kill our ballistic computer. Did he fall below that critical number it takes to sustain self-awareness? It is such. Was never more than hypothesis. Or did decentralizing that was done before that last bombing kill him? I don't know. If was just a matter of critical number, well, he's long been repaired. He must be back up to it.
It's propaganda.
Why doesn't he wake up? Can a machine be so frightened and hurt that it will go into catatonia and refuse to respond? While ego
Probably. I've done that
crouches
to plenty of
inside,
AI
aware but
girlfriends.
never willing to risk it. No, can't be that. Mike was unafraid, as gaily unafraid as Prof. Years, changes. Mimi long ago opted out of family management. Anna is mum now, and Mimi dreams by video. Slim got Hazel to change name to Stone. 2 kids, and she studied engineering. All those new free-fall drugs, and nowadays earthworms stay 3 or 4 years and go home unchanged. And those other drugs that
That's what
do
they
almost
call
as much
people
for
from
us.
Earth.
Some
That's
kids
their
go earthside
worms.
to school now.
That's
And
what they
Tibet,
should be
catapult.
called.
Took 17 years instead of 10. Kilimanjaro job was finished sooner. One mild surprise. When time came, Lenora named Stu for opting rather than Wyo.
Trying to punch his
Made no
telephone.
difference. We all voted Da.
Fucked.
One thing not a surprise, because Wyo and I pushed it through during time we still amounted to something in government.
Gotta make it
A
the
brass
deputy.
cannon on a pedestal in middle of old dome, and over it a flag fluttering in blower breeze. Black field speckled with stars, bar sinister in blood. A proud and jaunty brass cannon embroidered over all, and below it our motto, Tanstaffel. That's where we hold our 4th of July celebrations. You get only what you pay for. Prof knew and paid gaily. But Prof underrated Yammerheads.
Yeah.
They never adopted any of his ideas. Seems to be
Of course
a
they
deep
wouldn't.
instinct in human beings for making everything compulsory that isn't forbidden.
Professor was the diplomat.
Prof got fascinated by possibilities
Master.
for shaping future that lay in a big, smart computer, and lost track of things closer home. Oh, I backed him. But now I wonder, are food riots too high a price to pay to let people be?
Nope.
I don't know. Don't know any answers. Wish I could ask Mike. I wake up in night and think I've heard him. Just a whisper. Man, my best friend. But when I say Mike, he doesn't answer. Is he wandering around somewhere looking for hardware to hook onto? Or is he buried down in Complex Under, trying to find way out? Those special memories are all in there somewhere, waiting to be stirred. But I can't retrieve them. They were voice-coded. Oh, he's dead as Prof. I know it. But how dead is Prof? If I punched it just once more and said, Hi, Mike. Would he answer, hi, man? Heard any good ones lately? Been a long time since I've risked it. But he can't really be dead. Nothing was hurt. He's just lost. You listening, Bog? Is a computer one of your creatures? Too many changes. May go to that talk tonight and toss in some random numbers. Or not. Since Boom started, quite a few young cobbers have gone out to asteroids. Hear about some nice places out there, not too crowded. My word, I'm not even 100 yet. End of The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert A. Heinlein. A short version of this novel appeared in the Worlds of If magazine. Copyright 1965-1966 by Robert A. Heinlein. Narrated by Roy Avers in the studios of the American Printing House for the Blind, Louisville, Kentucky. For the Library of Congress, July 1987.
What are they trying to say about
For special distribution as authorized by Act of Congress under Public Law 89-522, with the permission of the copyright holder and the publisher,
Trump
Berkeley
made this all
Publishing Group,
possible.
200 Madison Avenue, New York, New York,
Even though he was impeached like 8
10016.
times. He can't be
End of
president.
book.
That was a good book.
The Wild Bunch. I mean, it's one of the greatest nights in movies in my life. Yeah, I mean, as far as I was concerned, when I was watching The Wild Bunch, as
Yeah.
far as I was concerned,
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino
they
liked
slashed
The
Angel's
Wild
throat.
Bunch?
I mean, how else could you do that?
Right.
They just slashed his throat.
So you thought that?
Yeah, and the blood like hit the fucking lens.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, almost all the directors I like, their stuff, you know, got more respected as time went on.
Right.
You know, and then that, especially in the 50s and 60s and 70s, that was the way it was. I mean, Jesus Christ, even Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch in 1969 did make Best Picture. All right, Oliver won Best Picture. I like Oliver. I'm not making fun of Oliver. Doesn't hold a flickering birthday candle to The Wild Bunch, especially cut to 2015. But I mean, I don't even think Wild Bunch was in consideration. For serious awards back then, which is just unfathomable.
And you think about it. If you think about something like, say, The Wild Bunch, what it made on the Friday it opened, does that mean anything now? No, it's The Wild Bunch. It's got to last for a long, long time. I'm looking forward to, kids who aren't even born hearing about Django Unchained. And they're going to grow up in a world where Django Unchained already exists.
Sam Peckinpah is,
Wow.
as you might imagine, is one of my favorite directors. He's one of my favorite personalities. I think the two masterpieces he made are The Wild Bunch and Straw Dogs. When it comes to The Wild Bunch,
Quentin
which is
Tarantino
absolutely
liked
generally
The
cathartic
Wild
at the very end.
Not sure if my movie's as good as The Wild Bunch. That's up to other people to figure out. I don't know if there's a similarity
bunch of different-
between me and Peckinpah, but there is a. I don't know if there's a similarity. I think we're kind of doing different things, but he is such a very specific director, and I'm a specific director. So there could be a lot to be gained. All right, by exposing yourself to his vision, and then exposing yourself to mine.
Well.
Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Yes.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
Well, see?
For more
You're
information or
okay
to
to listen
volunteer,
to.
please visit LibriVox.org.
What the
Read
fuck?
by Bob Neufeld.
The hell is that?
Underground,
Start
Part 1.
slamming around, tripping and shit for no reason.
Author's
Nowhere.
note. The author of the diary and the diary itself are, of course, imaginary.
From here.
Nevertheless, it is clear that such persons as the writer of these notes
Better let
not
me
only
know.
may, but positively must exist in our society
Me too.
when we consider the circumstances in the midst of which our society is formed.
You know, I got an idea. Maybe.
I have tried to expose to the view of the public more distinctly than is commonly done
So have I.
one of the characters of the recent past. He is one of the representatives of a generation still living. In this fragment, entitled Underground, this person introduces himself and his views, and, as it were, tries to explain the causes owing to which he has made his appearance and was bound to make his appearance in our midst.
Oh, wait, here we go.
In the second fragment, there are added the actual notes of this person concerning certain events in
Add
his
the
life.
here.
1. I am a sick man. I am a spiteful man. I am an unattractive man.
Me too.
I believe my liver is diseased. However, I know nothing at all about my disease, do not know for certain what ails me. I don't consult a doctor for it, and never have, though I have a respect for medicine and doctors.
With red sauce
Besides,
placed for
I am
pills.
extremely superstitious, sufficiently so to respect medicine anyway. I am well educated enough not to be superstitious, but I am superstitious. No, I refuse to consult a doctor from spite. That you probably will not understand. Well, I understand it, though. Of course, I can't explain who it is precisely that I am mortifying in this case by my spite. I am perfectly well aware that I cannot pay out the doctors by not consulting them. I know better than anyone that by all this I am only injuring myself and no one else. But still, if I don't consult a doctor, it is from spite. My liver
This
is
guy
bad.
rules.
Well, let it get worse.
Why isn't it just fucking just finish?
I
the
have been
mission?
going on like that for a long time.
This.
20 years. Now I am 40. I used to be in the government service, but am no longer. I was a spiteful official. I was rude, and took pleasure in being so. I did not take bribes, you see, so I was bound to find a recompense in that at least. A poor jest, but I will not scratch it out. I wrote it thinking it would sound very witty, but now that I have seen myself that I only wanted to show off in a despicable way, I will not scratch it out on purpose. When petitioners used to come for information to the table at which I sat, I used to grind my teeth at them, and felt intense enjoyment when I succeeded in making anybody unhappy.
Holy shit, Dostoevsky is awesome. Alright, that's really all I want to do is play out the rest of that, why am I doing this? No, this doesn't look like it would be too hard, actually, but, okay, he's letting me, there's nothing in there. He's letting me do some of this stuff. I need to build some zip lines back up to the previous, thing that, what is this?
An oxygen mask, huh? Good idea.
Uh-huh.
It'll filtrate
Stamina
the air
is
and
drained.
keep you breathing normally.
Am
In
I
addition
going to
protecting you
have
from
to
toxic
do
gases,
this?
it'll also help to fatigue when strenuous
This
activity,
game
making it
sucks.
easier to-
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
you
not
have-
gonna fucking play. Shut up. Shut up, bitch. What is this? I already have. Oh, level 2. Wait. I already have one. Why is this new? What's new about this? Uh-huh. Yeah, hematic grenade level 2. I already have the level 2, I thought. Don't I? Let me look. You know what, though? I don't actually need to do any streams. Okay, no, yeah. Bill. Yeah, I guess I didn't have old. Okay, well, you know what? I'll make one. Although I don't know why I would want one. Gimme. Anyways, so I hope everyone is happy about, Drumpy Drumpf. President Drumpy Drumpf being, president of Drumpiness. Hopefully everyone's going to be satisfied with 4 years of... Well, it's not going to be 4 years of suicide threats, but 4 years of emboldened, controlled opposition pretending to take credit for Trump's election, or pretending that they had anything to do with it, or pretending that they support Trump when they really don't. Or, you know, maybe they do support Trump because Trump supports Israel, the country that they work for. You know, the country that... all your favorite culture war YouTubers, when they talk about how they hate woke Marvel, while they, you know, are cutting their check back to YouTube, the woke mob at YouTube. They're very concerned about the woke Hollywood and nerd culture as they're monetized on YouTube. And then, of course, not just splitting that money with YouTube, but then splitting the money with Mossad that really... actually controls them all along. So 4 years of that, That's cool. I'm fine with that. People were in the chat the whole time? What the fuck? I didn't notice that. I won? I did win. But you know what? It's my gift. Trump's winning, Trump's election is my gift to the world. So I think we're all going to do okay. I'm hoping, anyways. Not even because of Trump. I don't think that Trump is going to do anything that will negatively impact my life, but things actually were relatively decent for me under Biden, but they weren't good for everyone else under Biden. Usually I seem to benefit at the expense of the entire rest of the human race. And I don't like that. I don't want that to be true. It just is true anyways, regardless of me liking it. But hello to Cask and Fredo. Fredo Fonzarelli, holy shit. Fucking Arthur Fonzarelli's slightly less competent, or maybe more competent brother. Jim Tuner. Hello. Kazuhira Mirror. Ting ting. Ting ting. Been unburdened by what has been. That's good. Jim Turner mentioning Nick Rekieta shipped his clothes to Hawaii for laundry shipping problems. Or why his kids didn't have clean clothes during the arrest. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, what was he going to do? Clean his clothes in his house that he lives in? That he stores his cocaine and children and sex dungeon in? I don't think so. That would be wrong for him to clean his laundry in the same house as his children's sex dungeon and drugs. And, yeah, all the people who are supporting Nick Rekieta, by the way, right now, they're going to be celebrating Trump's victory, even though they all work for Mossad, too. They're going to be very emboldened. They're going to be like, yeah, but at the same time, things might dry up a bit for them because who needs more YouTubers to be like, yeah, we won, but also woke Marvel's still bad. And it's like, who gives a shit? Well, they were also the same people who were, they released the Snyder Cut weirdos, who then they actually had Zack Snyder on, and immediately he denounced them. That's especially funny, just because they're such faggots for walking into that. We did thank you, Zack Snyder, and he's like, by the way, I have nothing to do with any of these people. And like, what? He backstabbed us. Backstabbing. Always with the backstabbing. Backstabbing. They're trying to make some small-time losers rich. And what did they get? They get backstabbed for it. Very sad. Any insight on when Trump opens the camps? We get to put on our nice uniforms. Probably tomorrow. Trump, he's going to be sworn into office, later today, I think. So tomorrow, we all get free Hugo Boss uniforms. Very stylish, very fashionable. Been promised a not-see government. Thank you, YouTube, for having to make people spell it that way. I wish I could turn that, just unironically, if I could completely turn off all... I mean, I do stream to Kick, so I guess the Kick stream chat would be uncensored, and I think if you type in the Kick stream chat, it will show up on the screen also. That would be cool. That should be good, I think. My mother has been absent ever since they founded Rome. There's going to be a party now, though. The wolf has come home. The wolf, a king wolf, more like, yeah. Trump won. We don't have to listen to chicks anymore. Rape is now legal. Right now, right this second, I mean, now that Trump was elected. One of the things I also wanted to mention is, first thing he should do is pardon himself when he's actually sworn in at the beginning of next year. Pardon himself, and like 5 seconds later, pardon the Jan 6 insurrectionists, and he should personally walk them out of the jail, like hand in hand, like fucking Red Rover. They should just all be holding hands, and they have either Biden or Kamala try to run through their hands, again, like in Red Rover, and just clothesline her. What kind of kids game is that, where you try to punch through people's conjoined arms as hard as possible, and either they get injured or you get injured. I don't know, but that sounds fun, and it's a teachable. What's what we like to call a teachable moment for kids. I don't think anyone's ever broken their arms in Red Rover or really been injured in any way. They've been mildly restrained at worst by Red Rover. It was a fun game though. But yeah, that should be day one. There's something else. Because that's right, I don't have to worry about like, what's showing up on my screen? Oh, just the game. There's something else I posted that was quite funny and insightful and true. Here, wait. Trump was elected? What do you mean? I thought he was a felon who was impeached 20 times. Just tell that to a Kamala supporter, or just tell that to Kamala supporters and say, don't worry, he was impeached, so surely he won't actually be president. Also, first thing he should do when sworn in is pardon himself, and then pardon Jan 6 insurrectionists. If he doesn't do that, the entire country has already been subverted and bought off by foreign interests, and whoever is president doesn't matter. Gee, I wonder if that's going to happen. Mysterious. Third thing should be to... Wait. Oh, that's the whole thing? Wow. Third thing should be to immediately cut off Ukraine from all funding. This should be within the first day of Trump being sworn in. All of that. All of those things I just mentioned. The pardoning and and cutting off Ukraine. This should be within the first day of Trump being sworn in, or else the entire presidency and election is a sham. Most likely it already is. I'm just saying that will confirm it. Even if the elections are all a sham, Trump should still personally walk the Jan 6 insurrectionists out of jail, side by side, fist in the air, waving an American flag. Tell the Hibanati who run our elections to stop being so subtle about it. And I think that is good advice. It's delightful. It's good advice. It's true. Also, this thing from Berserk of Guts with a little flower. And it says, Trump winning is not enough. I need horrible things to happen to social media influencers. And I don't just mean the ones who are depressed about Trump winning. I mean the ones who are pretending to be in favor of Trump winning. Because a lot of them are just as fraudulent and fake. Bullshit. Blue Sky is having a moment today. Lots of tears. Oh no, a lot of people on Blue Sky are upset about Trump winning. Really, most of that. What people have left for Blue Sky that really aren't secretly still just at least lurking on Twitter, Twixter, whatever the fuck, and just not admitting it. All right, yeah, I'm just skimming the social media. Wonderful social media. Anyways, do you think Trump will last until January 20th? Whoa, a lot of hate going his way. I mean, there was just as much hate, if not even more, possibly, the first time he was elected. But then again, people were genuinely thinking there's no way he can be elected. Then he got elected and people saw what he did, which wasn't really a whole hell of a lot. But the idea that this sort of conversion disorder that people are giving themselves about what Trump supposedly did, like people act like he made rape legal and that abortion was made illegal during Trump's actual presidency. And that you're going to hear a lot. I know we're going to hear a lot that Trump is going to completely cut off Medicaid and or Social Security. He's going to end all benefits of everything for everyone. And if anyone deserved all the free money programs that the government gets out, it's certainly me. I deserve that for saving the country with my mind, the power of my brain, the power of Wa, if you will. You know, the same way the orcs do it in Warhammer 40k. That's how my brother put it. And it's through the psychic gestalt. That's very accurate. We're basically the demiurge. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much the demiurge. So, you're welcome, human race, for allowing to, for us creating the reality where Trump is allowed to be president again, even if it was through Israel just flicking a switch and saying, we're going to give the white people this, we're going to give the white people a break so that they don't revolt or, overthrow everything. They're starting to get really anti-Semitic. Let's let them have a Trump presidency. That'll calm them down. Because I'm sure that'll work. I mean, it will work. Which is nice. I think that is a nice thing. I'm not saying I'm against that. I'm just saying that's what's happening. I'm not saying it's for or against. As long as I can keep sitting around playing video games and making my thoughts into reality while listening to books on tape. I got a bunch of books on tape. Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It's only 5 hours. The Moon as a Harsh Mistress, on the other hand, was like 2 videos that were 7 hours each. Very long. Lots of intricate details about how you would overthrow a government. Which, of course, it's sci-fi, so it ends very nicely with them just chucking moon rocks at Earth and just blasting them to shit. They blew up an entire mountain just in the final hour of the book that I listened to there. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin by Benjamin Franklin. That's also a LibriVox book. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. I've never read a Philip K. Dick book, and I technically will have. I consider listening to the book on tape to count. It's one of the only reasons why I'm even still playing this gay piece of shit, pretentious, piss-infused game that is Death Stranding. Is it makes it very easy to listen to books on tape because I could just skip all the cutscenes, turn the audio for the game to rock bottom, and not even really pay attention to it, just zipping back and forth, delivering packages. I'm not paying it. I did watch some of the cutscenes earlier, and it's the dumbest story ever. I also watched a bunch of the. Okay, I'm about to wrap up then. That's good. She's gonna party with us. Cool. We got a lot to celebrate with Mom. Yeah, Mom is she's coming over, so we're gonna ask her, how does it feel to have wasted your vote, and tell her, why did you even bother voting? Your vote didn't count. You lost. When you lose, your vote doesn't count. I'm gonna tell her that. What was the other thing that we're gonna tell her that was both justified and funny? We are pretty funny when we do that. Oh yeah, should I ask her who she voted for and say it better have been Trump or else I'm reporting you to Project 2025? Or should I tell her that she wasted her vote by voting for Kamala, so her vote didn't matter? Or should I do both? Should I tell her that Project 2025 already knows who she is and will be coming for her now that they control the government? And maybe they were actually in control of the government the whole time, and they orchestrated Biden being president in the first place and Kamala being Trump's opponent just to set up an easy win for Trump. That was that was Project 2025 all along. I don't know. Which of those should we tell our own mom when she comes over in a few minutes? I don't know. Why she would come up I suspect she's not going to be happy, but it's like, hey, Mom, we want to watch Sopranos. Don't you want to watch The Sopranos? You should. I block my 2 sisters from my life for voting Kamala. That seems a little extreme, but sadly, I know that's usually what you have to do because the Kamala supporters just go so fucking batshit all the time. I'm just relieved. Love audio, but yeah, audiobooks are great because they allow me to multitask so many times over. It's good for the attention span. It's not bad for the attention span. It was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Yeah, that would be the first Philip K. Dick book I actually read, and I do count that. I was like, technically reading. It's like, no, you know what? Not technically. It's reading. Robert A. Heinlein, though, first book, first time I actually read, because I had like an ebook PDF file, not Vito or the Umbrella Guy or Nick Rekieta or anyone who supported Nick Rekieta over the past 5 years, but the actual file that has the book of Starship Troopers, and I just never read it. But I listened to it, the book on tape version, over Udintube, and so now I have read it. And it's like, you know what? Wonderful, wonderful book. Very interesting though, because the thing about Heinlein is he's very I won't say dry, but he's like almost it's like a historical document of stuff that happens. It's kind of technical, but it's also like a guy telling you what happened last night. He's like, oh, last night I did this thing, and then I fell in this pit with all these fucking bugs. It was crazy. That's like, it's almost conversational is the way Robert A. Heinlein seems to write the two books of his that I've listened to so far. But Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and then Valis by Philip K. Dick. Hyperion by Dan Simmons. I did read Summer of Night by Dan. I'm pretty sure that's Dan Simmons. I actually did read that back in the 90s. I read the book, a physical book with my hands. I read that. Part 1 and 2. I plan to do those. And The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. 10 hours each, and it's 2 parts. Holy shit. Or Hyperion, that's 2 parts, and it's 8 hours each. Well, 8.5 for the first part, and 9 hours, 8:55 for part 2. So that's like 9 hours. So, and then Brothers Karamazov is 10 hours and then 10 hours. Holy shit. But I plan to get to those eventually. They're on the list. I will listen to other videos, whenever there's some Rekieta clips. I'm kind of tired of Rekieta clips because it's all these people who are just chugging his piss for years and years, and it's other people who are like drug addicts and child abusers who are showing up and they're like, yeah, man, Rekieta, he's bad. And it's like, you were friends with him and you defended him and ran interference for him and covered up for when he was lying and all this shit. Now you're supposed to be trustworthy. And all the people in the Illicit Clips comments are just like throwing themselves to the ground to lap up the piss of every single one of them. It's really embarrassing to see. So I don't even bother. I mean, why would I read the comments when they're just people who are like 5 to 10 years late on what I already knew? I jumped in the comments to gloat about how I was right all along. Now it's like the people, they're the same rubes who were in love with Rekieta. Now they're in love with the people who are the same as Rekieta but pretending that they're not. Very sad, very paused, but just like pouring cooking oil down the drain, not my problem. I can still listen to the clips usually, but a lot of the people that she clips talking about the Rekieta stuff are kind of boring. I mean, some of them are well, I don't know. I was gonna say some of them are okay, and then I'm trying to think of an example, and not one. Fucking cranking the bucket up from the well, and it's empty, just nothing in there. I guess what I'm saying is defaulting to me as the best, most interesting, funny, insightful, prescient person who talks about Nick Rekieta. So if you really want to know like the truth about Nick Rekieta that none of those other people in the Illicit Clips will say or will admit to, I do tons of videos on our Subscribe Star behind the pig paywall. A pay pig on your uniform. Yes. So again, only $5 a month to see into the mind of the demiurge. That seems like quite the bargain. Please, Trump. Yeah, we need to pray to Trump, though. Trump is basically God now. We may be the demiurge, but Trump is God. So when you pray, make sure you're praying to Trump, especially to save you. Save us, help us, Trump. And yes, as Jim Tuner says, please, Trump, make Starship Troopers the movie real, not the book. Yeah, it's important, not the book, the movie real. Take us to war against the bugs, the bug men, if you will. Kate has been doing family cooking shows for the past 2 days. That sounds charming. I did find those clips that Illicit Clips had to take down from her channel. I did find them, and now I have them secretly mirrored somewhere, and I'm going to listen to those and play those on a video that will be on our Subscribe Star. I have this whole segment called Clips and Video where I basically do streams. Those streams I used to do where I used to listen to the Ricada clips and do performative commentary on them. I still do that a lot, just not in public anymore. Anyways, thanks everyone for showing up in the chat and hanging out. You come in here with balls. We're able to do these streams because